Welcome to FitHer, where strong women share real stories, expert insight, and bold truths about health, fitness, and living fully. Because your journey matters. Now, let's get into it. I'm Kristen Hislop, your host, and today I welcome Toni Howard, who I've known for a while now. And we're going to talk a little bit about her journey and a lot of expertise that she has that I think is going to be extremely valuable to share. But let's get started by talking about your fitness journey, which has been, I'm not going to say you're old,
well,
but it's a long journey, right? So let's talk about where did you get started and.
So I was in college and I was taking classes at this local studio and 18, 19 years old. And the owner was like, "You move well." I go, "Okay." And she said, "You should do this for a living." I go, "Okay." So I literally just kind of jumped in as a member and I, worked in her studio at 18, 19 years old. And that was it. Wow. And here I am 38 years later, still doing what I love.
Still doing it. So when you started, were you teaching like step or what kind of classes were you teaching?
Slide and step classes, all the things that we kind of did in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that I taught. Always did strength training. But, back then it was put on the slides and then do the stepper and all the fun things that we did back in the 80s. So those were my bread and butter back then.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's been so much progression of what we know, and especially specifically for women. Like, what is some of your most favorite modalities that you've taught that maybe aren't around anymore?
Probably double step, where we used to put two benches up and we would go, laterally or vertically double step. And then, of course, the old booties with the slide. That was really fun back in the 80s. It was always just a lot of like really high intense cardio, like go, 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 nonstop. Those are the things that we kind of did back then. And those are the things that I love to do.
Right.
Now I know better.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Yeah. So, yes, there is that high intensity. And I can say from my experience what I've noticed off that. But what do you think is good, not as great about that? Where should we be focusing?
I think cross training is probably the safest and the best way to go, especially for women. Mm-hmm. I think, back in the 80s, it was just cardio, cardio, cardio. Now we've learned that one of the most important things is to strength train for women. So I think a healthy balance, all the things. I think that's one of the things that have kept me very safe and injury-free after all these years. And I've certainly done my fair share of marathons and Ironmans, training with you, doing all those big events, but I've always cross-trained. So I think now we're seeing many more women picking up the weights. And back in the 80s, we didn't see a lot of that. And if they did, they were pretty in pink. They were lightweights, they were pretty, they were cute. Now we see women that are powerlifting, women that are not afraid to go into the gyms, picking up those heavier dumbbells and really focusing a lot more strength training.
Yeah. And I think that's something like we hear a lot about now, right? Is that women need to lift heavy. And it's kind of like, that whole like, how do you know when you're injured or not? So how do you know what's heavy?
Yeah.
And what does that mean if you're new to strength training? Or maybe you've been doing it, but you've been working with 5 and 10 pound dumbbells. So what does it mean to you? And how do you explain that?
Heavy's different for everybody, right? Your perception of heavy might be different from my perception. Typically, the rule of thumb is if you've been using the same weights and you're getting to that, 8 to 10, 10 to 12 rep, and you're like, I could probably do 2 to 4 more with really good form, it's probably the right time to start adjusting. With that being said, it could be a matter of, let me increase my range of motion first. Let me make sure that my form is really the best that it can be before I just reach to go grab those heavier weights, right? But with that being said, if you've been kind of handling those same weights, you're feeling like I could do more, my form is definitely on point, it's definitely time to try something. And those should be very small increments. Mm-hmm. If you're using 25, maybe we go to 30, maybe we go to 28.5, a small increment. We work with those for a couple of weeks, same thing. It's been about 4 or 6 weeks, feeling pretty good. My form is great. I can definitely do those 2 extra reps. Probably time to go up.
Time to go up, yeah.
And you want to track, you want to write things down.
Yes, I think that's important too, right? So it's like when people get started, I always feel like this. It's like, I love it when I have people in the pool and I videotape them early on, because then they can see the progress that they've made. I think that's a challenge for people too sometimes, is then they up the weights, but they don't really realize how much progress they've made.
Yeah, and there's nothing better than seeing it, right? So when I work with all my clients, they have their notebooks, we track everything. Even how did you feel? It was a little easy, it was a little bit too hard. How much rest did they need? So by tracking all those little moments, then you really have a better sense of, is it the right and is it the safest time for me to go up? Because a lot of people think, well, I did those reps, they were great, I should just slap on 10 more pounds. Probably not the way to go, because ideally you want to be safe and you want to be injury free so you can continue your training.
Exactly. Yes. So what are things that you do that help people stay injury free?
Sure. Cross training. Really recognizing that doing the same movement, the same patterns, the same type of exercise day in and day out, it's very daunting on the body. So cross training, number one. Recovery. In the day, it was every single day, every single time at the gym, 1 to 2 hours. It's kind of the way that we were brought up. Now it's cross training and really recognizing that within recovery, you're actually making gains. And we didn't always think that way, especially back in the 80s. I remember, I would just be doing classes 2 hours in a row. Sure, we all did that step class, high impact, cardio. Now it's
every day
too, right?
Like not even taking a break. Yeah.
Now it's 1 day strength training, 1 day more endurance, 1 day yoga, Pilates, 1 day completely off. I might take a walk, play with the dogs, just really give my body time, because we now know it is through recovery you're actually going to make the most gains.
Yes. And so a lot of people, and especially I think the women who come off of that, like the high intensity work, they have a really hard time, because if they go into strength training, they're not sweating like they would sweat, right? And then the heart rate's not getting up as high. Like, how do you coach them?
Yeah, well, it's changing the mindset and seeing progress and tracking. I think when I work with female clients, when they see where they started with me, and I'm like, did you know last week we did 25s, we're at 30s. They get very, very proud of that and very excited. So it starts to make that nice mental shift for them, that I shouldn't be on a treadmill every single day. I don't need to be doing a high interval class every single day. That through my strength training, I'm actually probably making more gains, so that those other elements of my training are better. It definitely takes time. I still have, females that I work with, or males that are kind of stuck in that rut. And I always, I'll put like my little soapbox in class. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to go on my soapbox. And I want to talk about why we need to strength train. And you don't need to be in the gym 2 hours a day. You give me 30 minutes, 45 of really good quality work, you're going to get more out of that than just spending hours and hours at the gym where you have already fatigued, those muscles are spent, you've worn yourself out, and you've got nothing left in the tank for your last part of your workout. So it definitely takes some time, and I think some women that I've worked with are a little still stuck in that mindset, but it's getting much better, much better.
Do you find that strength training is more empowering for women than the cardio work?
I think yes. I think for sure, especially when they look at their numbers, right? And, I've had, clients that I've worked with for years, and, they were started with 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and they're literally 30 pounds, 45. I saw it yesterday. We were in a staff class for Orange Theory, and 2 of the members that work at Orange Theory had been making some gains, and the coach recognized that. And, even for people in the field, like it's just something that you just work for. And when you get there, it's, what can I do next? Where can I go with this next? And I think it's kind of like when people train for their first 5K.
Yeah.
You get so excited when you cross that finish line. I think strength training is the same for a lot of women. And I'm glad to see that more and more women are more comfortable in the gym, more comfortable walking over to those heavy weights. And I think that in terms of like how men perceive that, I think that men are much more supportive of women being in their space than what we saw back in the 80s.
Oh, I 100% think that. Yes. Yeah. And I also think it's interesting, like just saying, looking at Orange Theory and the guys who go and do the strength only classes there, that it's not even, they don't like seem to care if women are lifting more than they are. Like they're lifting what they can lift and what they're comfortable with. And the women are lifting what they can lift and what they're comfortable with.
Yeah,
And that's pretty
absolutely.
cool. Like to see that there's not that. I hadn't actually just really thought much about that but I think that strength training is extremely empowering. And maybe that's just another reason that women can think about getting into it, because it is measurable. And yes, you can measure with like a 5K and your time can get faster. And yes, you can feel better about that. But I think the strength training almost translates to life in a different way. So cardio, yeah. Can you run up the stairs better? Mm-hmm. Sure. But boy, can you lift all your grocery bags and walk to the car and feel confident and, pick up the grandkids or whatever you're trying to do. But I think that becomes very visible of what you're then able to do in daily life.
Lot, like with my clients, they'll be like, Toni, you just saw me the other day. I picked up those bags of salt, had one under one arm, one under the other, and I didn't even make. Do you need help out to your car? No, I don't. So, to what you're saying, like quality of life, those functional fitness things, staying with the grandkids, I feel like too, a lot of people are moving in more that direction than just, I need to pick up an 80-pound weight. It's, I want to be healthier. I want to be able to take care of myself. I want to be able to keep my house up, do those things around the house that require me to lift, bringing in the bags of groceries, like you said. I think those things are the things that really drive a lot of women and or men to really kind of keep moving in that direction of, these are the things that are going to stick with me for life. And if I strength train and keep my muscles strong, keep my body injury free, I'm going to be able to have a much healthier life. And not that cardio is not important in crossing that finish line at the 5K. Those are huge accomplishments. But I think over time what I'm seeing is people are changing that trajectory of, I just need to be faster too. I want to be stronger. Yeah. I want to have a better quality of life. And I want to be around longer for my kids, my grandkids.
And I think that's really the genesis of this whole podcast and the whole FitHer forward concept was watching my parents age and the people around them. So watching and going down and visiting and seeing someone who had been out walking around was in the hospital for 2 days and it was learning to walk again. But because they had no muscle, it was incredibly difficult. And then all of a sudden they're in a wheelchair and that's it, or someone falls because they don't have good balance. Right. So even like, I think people don't necessarily think strength training is a great way to build your balance. So I tell people, like, when you're cooking, stand on one foot, and I love it that we work so much now on the strength training, the balance, the mobility with kids in running. Like at the high school level, that's a component of every workout every day. So hopefully that's becoming just part of like what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because for so long, it was those classes that you go to, you get out of organized sports.
Yeah.
And then you start going to those classes. And when I did metabolic testing work with people, I noticed that the women, their heart rate would go up really fast and would stay up. And so, but they never did anything so that they had a better aerobic base. And in a sense, strength training will help with that.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like yet another benefit.
And I think in the day when we trained our athletes, I remember back in high school, it was just go run around the soccer field. That was your training, do some stretches. Now, I think schools are much more advanced in terms of their thinking about training their athletes for injury prevention, for success, and accompanying, even like my son, he plays hockey. They do everything. They strength train, they do mobility, flexibility. The athletes I work with, at the gym where I train, we do the same thing. Their program is so much more comprehensive than back in the day. It was just kind of lift, maybe run a little bit. Now it's incorporating all the things, unilateral, the balance component, the functional fitness, all the things that you mentioned. And I think that we're just in a much better space. And I think every year we still learn more about how we can not only train our athletes, our clients, your Ironman, competitors, our Orange Theory members, whatever. I think we just continue to learn and evolve. And we also have to look at where we're at in society. I think people that we work with today are sitting behind desks, for 13, 15 hours. They're coming in with a lot of stress. They're coming in with a lot on their plate. And so we have to look at their program in terms of not only what is best for you, but what is going to be emotionally building strength behind your stressful days and the amount of hours that you're working, and working on just posture and things like that. And we didn't think about those things back in the day. It was just work out hard, sweat all you can.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. Sweat as much as you can.
the more
and
you
then you're
hurt, the
doing
better
well.
that workout was, right? We
Right.
don't think that way as much, I think, anymore.
No, and it's great. And I think it's actually kind of a sage advice, right? To say, look at what your kids are doing and emulate that, because the kids are getting taught that recovery is important. They are getting taught that mobility is important, that balance, you need balance. And I almost wish that in some sports we would, like soccer, I remember they were doing skills right away instead of, can you balance on one foot? Because if you can't balance on one foot, how are you playing soccer? Right. So, I think that we're getting better at all that. We always have room to improve. When you work with a lot of women, you work with men too, but we're focused on women here. So you work with a lot of women. What are the things that you would like to see women work on at different ages, or maybe not even ages? Because again, now we know, like, some women go through perimenopause in their late 30s. Some don't go until 50, right? So it's like, but what are the things that you like to focus on with women at kind of different spaces in their lives?
Well, when I work with a client, we always do an intake, and I really want to talk to them about their goals. And they're a wide range. And I work with young women that I want to do a race. I want to look better in my wedding dress. Then I work with my 30s that are like, I don't want to look like I'm 50 when I'm 30. Then I work with my 40 and 50 years olds that say, I want to maintain my muscle. I want to try to look the best I can as I'm aging into my 50s, my 60s. So part of it is finding out what their initial goals are. And then it's more, again, building a comprehensive approach. A female might say to me, I want to look better in my wedding dress. We're still going to do functional fitness, strength training, mobility, flexibility. I'm still going to build a wide program, because I can, say to someone, well, then we just need to do a lot of cardio so you burn a lot of fat.
Right.
But ultimately their goal is to look good in their dress. So I want them to feel, their posture is good, their shoulders are down, their back is looking good. I want everything to look good for them. So it's still going to incorporate a lot of those different elements. I think too, the other thing is just meeting the client where they're at, and recognizing that we're all in a different space at any given time. Where I was 10 years ago is very different from where I am now. But I look in terms of where am I at now, and where was that 10 years ago? I'm lifting heavier than I ever have been in my years of working on my fitness and wellness program. Might not be as fast as I was anymore, but so I try to look at it as, what am I doing now that's better, and where do I want to go with that, and what do I want to still hold on to the best that I can. So I love running. I might not be the fastest I used to be, but I'm 57. I'm proud that I can still run and do the things that I like to do when I was in my probably 20s and 30s, and sometimes even better now, because I have knowledge behind me now.
Well, and that's the whole thing about this podcast, right? Is we're trying to get the knowledge out there. And so I do think that it's interesting. You can look and set goals for yourself. Yeah. But they're all relative, right? Of like, okay, this is where I am and this is where I've been, but I want to go to here. And so do you ever like reset at the beginning of the year and go, okay, yeah, I used to do that. Now this is where I am and what I'm going to do?
I think the biggest reset for me was during COVID, because at that time I had done my 2 Ironmans up in Placid, did them with you, and was doing a lot of long distance marathon after marathon. Well, COVID hit, everything shut down. I think everybody did a reset. So then I was really focusing on strength training. Yeah. And what did I have access to do strength training, right? So I was really kind of just moving into that. I want to really work on my strength training. And I think even now, in the women I work with, it is very fluid. One, session, it's, what, Toni, I'm feeling a little off center today. Can we spend some time working on balance? Something's a little off. Sure, I can flip it like that. Or I just signed up for a race. Can we do a little bit more of that? What are some things? And again, still mobility, functional fitness, and then of course speed work, drill, all the things that we do to prep for a race. So it can be very, very fluid. I think there's an overall goal. I still want to look the best I can. I want to feel good. I don't want to wake up at 35 and be tired in the morning. So I think those really global and central kind of goals are always there with those little tweaks along the way. And that's what I kind of love. Like, my clients will come in on any given day and say, okay, here's what's going on. I work with clients that are under a lot of medication. I work with a lot of clients that are pre and post working through a cancer diagnosis. So I deal with medication changes. I deal with just their bodies changing as they're working through chemotherapy or surgeries. So it has to be very fluid, but I always lead with, I meet them where they're at and try to get them where they want to go, not necessarily where I think that they should go. And I think that's really important.
That is really important, right? Well, because then they have more buy-in, and hopefully they're learning so much from you that they'll continue working with you. But if for some reason they move, right, they can continue that because of what they've learned and the importance and all of that good stuff. So yeah, that's. I
think I've said that as a trainer. I've always been like, my greatest success is when you say you don't need me anymore. And people are like, but then you lose clients. I go, but then that means that I've trained them well enough that they can have autonomy and they can move or not see me as much and walk into a gym like ABC or Orange Theory and feel very comfortable and confident in themselves. That's a huge success as a trainer.
Yeah. What would you say to people who watch this and go, oh yeah, I don't know, I can't do that. Either all the myths, right? I don't want to get bulky, or I'm too old to do that, or I don't have the right background, or I don't want to be embarrassed. Like, how do you get past all those excuses, really?
Yeah. Baby steps, I think if somebody's really out of the know with knowledge, hire a trainer or work out with a friend that has some experience, that's been working out at Orange Theory, ABC, or other studios and gyms. Go with them. The buddy system is one of the best places to start because you walk in with somebody, because we know even walking into a place can be very intimidating. I think it's very important to set really realistic and very simple goals. I want to go to the gym twice this week. Start small, grow as you go, right? Set yourself up for success rather than failure. Because I've seen that where people have come to me and said, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to come to you 7 times a week and all these things. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. Let's be real here, because you have life and work and children. So start small. I think it's really important to start with the basics. Even in strength training, what is a squat? What is a lunge? What is a hinge? What is, those very basic moves that lead into all the other things. And it could be for somebody that's overwhelmed. Let's step up on a treadmill and press the go button and just walk for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. How does that feel? And I think when you really set the tone of let's just start, let's just walk into the gym, let's walk into the studio, let's pick up something and move their body, then I usually start seeing like the wheels clicking, like I like this, and the endorphins are kicking in and they start feeling good about themselves. And then over time, it's just making those little tweaks, those little journeys where it's, last week we did 5 minutes on the tread. We're going to go for 7. We're going to go for 10. And when they do that and they get the success, their buy-in, like you mentioned, is just so much greater as opposed to walking out feeling defeated.
Well, and I think that's something we always notice in our training challenge. So it's like people start, and when we first started, it was basically a, couch, and then we're going to go do the race. Yeah. And so it starts off run, walk. And when you get to the mile, covering a mile, it's like a run for a mile. And there were so many women that be like, I have never done that. Like I would sit out in the high school mile. I would not do it. And now I've done that. Like, I can't believe I've done that. And it was always so interesting to me because I hadn't sat out in high school. I did it. But to see like how empowering that was. And so I do think like there's so much of that. And how much do you see when you're working with people? Because you have worked with people over a long period of time. How much do you see physical fitness impacting other areas of their lives?
Yeah, tremendously. Self-esteem, number one, right? When you feel better about yourself, that translates to your partner, your children, all the things, right? So I think that's the first and foremost. And I think that sense of, confidence. like, I can do this. And it really creates like this really nice mental shift for them. Like you said, crossing the finish line, when you've seen how many thousands and thousands of women and racers, their first time, it's overwhelming. They're in tears because they've never felt that they could do that. So I think it translates in every way. I've seen it for myself, just being more confident in front of people, being more confident to take on more challenges myself. Interesting enough, my very first 5K was the Fraunhofer Run for Women.
Yeah.
My mother had just gotten diagnosed with breast cancer, and I grabbed my best friend Heather and I said, we need to do something. And I thought, the perfect race, it's women. And being able to be in this space with all these incredible women, that was my very first. And from there it was like, I got the bug. Yeah. And then it's more of these, more, this, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger. But I think like when someone feels innately good, and they look at themselves in the mirror and they just feel better, stronger, fitter, it translates into everything. I've heard it multiple times, I'm just a nicer person. Yeah. I'm kinder, I'm more patient, I feel more independent. I can do things for myself that before I couldn't do things for myself. So I think in every way, I think when you get that little, like, I can do this, it just, I don't know. For me, I think for you, you've seen it, you've worked with thousands of women and men, it just changes your life.
It does. So now let's talk about you personally, though, because you've done some really cool things,
some good things,
right? As a result of the fitness. So, like you were doing, what were you doing with Dancing with the Stars, right?
Last year, Dancing with the Stars, and that was great. Again, out of my element. I'm not a dancer. I'm a gym rat, and raised I think $34,000 for To Life. That was a huge experience, and I said it was one of the most personal and professional challenges and probably best things I've ever done as somebody in the wellness field. It was incredible.
But I mean, you had the confidence to go do that.
Yes.
Right? Like at age 20, would you have thought like, oh yeah, I would do something like that? Yeah, exactly. Like I think that's something that's cool. So even somebody who's been in the business, the lifestyle that you lead has afforded you. What are the other things that it's afforded?
Well, Ironman. I mean, doing the half Ironman, I would have never thought that. Even doing a full marathon, a half marathon. I did my first was the Fraunhofers, and I thought, this is fun. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, what can I do with this next? And I think, what I try to do is walk the walk. I ask my clients to take a risk every time. We talk about it all the time. You're in a safe place. If you're going to a risk today, taking a heavier weight, today's the day. So I think it's important that I walk the walk. And I remember when I did Dancing with the Stars, I said, this will be the biggest personal and professional challenge I've ever done in my life. And to this day, I'll say it was one of the greatest challenges and one of the best things I've ever done to push myself out of a very, very uncomfortable space into something that was like, wow. And I look back at it now, I'm like, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, but what a cool experience too. Like, phenomenal. And you've also gotten like trainer awards. I mean, you get voted best trainer. Like, that's phenomenal, right?
Very blessed, very blessed.
Yeah. And I think, maybe people don't really think about like how much doing that physical activity and getting stronger and doing it all, like recovery, strength training, cardio, can really benefit all areas of their lives. Absolutely. Whether or not they're a professional in the field or, they've got some other job on the side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because really that's how I view it. Everything else is on the side.
Right.
Fitness is number one in all of our lives, or that's what we should have, right?
Yeah.
What's next for you? What are your own big current goals?
Oh, high rocks. Yeah.
I was going to say, that's what I figured. Yeah.
Yep. Never, like you'd ask
Okay,
me
you have to give a brief overview of high rocks because I'm sure most people don't.
Sure.
They may have heard of it, but they don't really know.
Yeah, it is a competition, a race that has just gone globally. Now it's throughout the country. It is an endurance race style where you move from runs to stations. So burpees, sled pulls, wall ball, lots of running. The one that we're training for will be in New York at the end of May. And that will be something that I'm going to be doing with my daughter. So I'm super excited. So once again, my training has shifted, I thought I was going to sign up for another marathon or another, event. But I thought, you know what? I've never done it before. And we are now a training studio at Orange Theory. I'm like, now's the perfect time. No excuses. Lead by example. I'm asking our members to maybe compete in one of these. So I probably should do it myself. Right?
But it's also, I think it's unique in that you do have running, 1,000-meter runs, but then it's also exercises. And it's like the broad jump to a burpee.
Yeah.
And you cover, what, 80 meters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's no joke.
No.
Right? So even people who say, I don't want to compete, I'm not into competing, they can still go take the class and kind of learn how to train to be able to do something like that. Because to me, like, wow, that's awesome. If you have to go 1,000 meters, then you know you're guaranteed you can get down and get to the mailbox. Right?
Absolutely.
And if you're doing a burpee, okay, you can get down on the ground and you can get back up again. Absolutely. Like, super important. Like, it's almost like those are functional skills that are in this competition.
Elevate your training, right?
Yeah.
We've all get in a rut, and that's what I've been saying to the members at OT, like, this is a great way for you to elevate your training, you know, and if you've been kind of going with us for a long time, as many of our members are, this is a great opportunity for you to do something that's really going to elevate your training. And that's the response I'm getting from the members who are not necessarily going to do the race, but they're loving it. I have a 90-minute tomorrow. Yeah. It's full with the wait list. And these people are, you know, half of them will never see a High Rocks, but they love the challenge.
But it's a challenge. Yes, exactly. And so I think that's something that's awesome to be able to continue to give people those challenges and evolve with everything. Okay, we'll move into our little final kick now. So a couple questions. Your favorite post-run or workout snack? Because we know how important nutrition is.
Probably like a bagel. Like just something carb, you know, give it to me. I'm very plain and simple eater. I don't do a lot of like interesting food, but I keep to the basics. But a bagel, peanut butter on it, good to go.
Good to go. Perfect. Then, you get your protein. I love it. Like all our peanut butter people. And now peanut butter, they're saying, when you're pregnant, go ahead and have the peanut butter. Give your kid. Well, I wouldn't give it up. No, well, I wouldn't give it up. And so I had peanut butter the whole time. And neither of my boys have any allergies. So I was like, okay, this is all right. But I think now we're always learning, right? So, so we get into that. And I also think that's awesome that bagel is your choice because we've been demonizing carbs recently. And we need carbs.
Absolutely.
So let's not demonize fat, carbs, protein.
None of it.
And as we always keep talking about 2026 fiber.
There you go.
We need that too. Your favorite way to recover?
Stretching. I've been really trying to work on just mobility, like go to Hot Works here and there, utilizing, you know, their saunas. Just doing a lot, and to the point where I created a class at ABC where literally the last 20 minutes is all foam rolling and self-myofascial release. And I've been loving that extra time. The members have been loving it. So just doing a lot of rolling, stretching, mobility. Yeah, that's my favorite.
And you did a foam rolling at Orange Theory too. And I think it's great. And again, like somebody like me and you, right? It's that whole, like, we know how to foam roll. But then you realize most people have no idea how to foam roll. So there is an art to it, and there's information that you need to learn and figure out and all that. So now as we continue on our final kick, favorite workout or place to work out?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one. I love that I can be at Orange Theory and ABC Sports and Fitness. Those are, you know, I'm that person, if you track where I'm going, it's just those two places all day, all night. And they each bring a lot of joy to my life because I get to do different things at both of those spaces. And I see different people. Those are my favorite two places to be. And if I can't be there, I want to be outside running and just kind of doing that.
And, you know, I think it's interesting. And you bring up a good point, right? You go between two places and you'll do workouts at the different venues, right? That's okay. I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I have to have one place and that's the only place I'm going to go. And chances are they may not find everything they need in one place.
Correct. And I was just having this conversation with a member yesterday who has dual memberships. And he was saying, Orange Theory fits something that I wasn't getting there, but I never give up that other place because what I do there, I don't necessarily get to do here. And I said, there's space for all of it. It's a matter of balancing and really looking at what your ultimate goals are and finding those spaces that are not only have what you need, but support what you need.
Right.
You know, you want to be in spaces that are inspiring and you're surrounded around like-minded people. And I think that's what, you know, I see at both of the spaces where I work. I mean, the people are great. Everybody's their biggest cheerleader. And they offer very different things. So a lot of our members have dual memberships. I myself have had multiple dual memberships. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay too, because you could still have a membership and maybe do things at home.
Right.
You know, there's so many more resources now between just videos and, tools that you can buy,
Well, and
equipment
accessibility to equipment,
Right,
right?
exactly.
I mean, during COVID, I think a lot of people created home gyms
Yep,
and home
absolutely.
things that they can do.
So you just make it work. And again, it's about what your goals are and just balancing it out so that you feel like you are giving both of those spaces, I think, a lot of good love, so that you feel like my investment is paying off in both, if that's the case for you.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about you, well, there are a lot of things I love about you,
thanks.
but one of the specific things that I really think is super important is that you really do focus on form with people, and you give great cues on how to do things well. So I want to encourage people who are nervous or not sure about getting started. Like, there are a lot of people like you out there, but you specifically are very, very good at that.
Thank you.
How can people get in touch with you
Yeah.
if they want to work with you?
Sure. They can just reach out to me at, right at ABC is where I do my personal training clients. They can just reach out to me. I have my own website, Total Fitness with Toni. So they can just find me right there and do an inquiry form there, or just call ABC, or they can just call me and reach out to me even at Orange Theory. Members will come in and ask for some personal training there, or just some things on the side. So yeah, all the spaces. I'm around.
Great. Yeah, exactly. No, that's fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Much, yeah.
It's super fun, and we could
Super
talk
fun.
a lot more
All
about
day.
a lot of different things. But that's what this podcast is about, and so we'll have you back, and we'll talk more in depth on more. But that's just awesome. So what you do next matters most, and let's all get fitter.